Good morning, everyone. Good morning. You had your breakfast, right? Yes? So good morning. Fantastic. My name is Mayuri Malankar. I'm the host of this event. And on behalf of UBS Forums and our esteemed partners, 𝗲𝗍, Delta, Eaton, Control S Data Centers, ST Telemedia Global Data Centers India, Ishan Technologies, Radiance Renewables, CommScope, Orient Pro Solutions, 𝗬𝗏, Starline, Mitsubishi Electric, Elcom, Meganet, Ola Tech Solutions, 𝗍𝗶𝗴 Electronic. I welcome you all to the 18th edition of Data Center Summit and Awards 2024. Let's begin this morning with a huge round of applause, everybody. Come on. We are truly honored to have you all here today to celebrate the evolving landscape of data center and to keep them more relevant with the changing needs. Before we dive into this Power Pack event, let us extend a warm welcome to all the esteemed partners, guests, industry leaders, sponsors, and participants who made this event possible. Thank you so much once again for taking out time from your busy schedules and being a part of this event. To give this event an auspicious start, we will have the lamp lighting ceremony, and for the same I request our dignitaries to kindly come forward as I take their names. Please put your hands together, everyone, for Mr. Kamal Shah from Tata Technologies, Mr. Prashant Antony from 𝗲𝗍, Mr. Dev Banerjee from Eaton, Mr. Ravi Kumar from Delta Electronics, Thank you, everyone. And now, let's kick start with the first session of the day, Powering the Digital Economy Data Centers 2030. And for the same, I'll request Mr. Kamal Shah, CDIO Tata Technologies, to join us. Meanwhile, let me introduce him. Mr. Kamal carries over 25 years of technology and operations experience and has led strategic multifarious IT projects and global transportation programs. In his current role as CDIO at Tata Technologies, Kamal leads portfolio of transformation program in area of AI, data, technology, cloud business systems, and security. Prior to this, he has held senior leadership positions with the Walt Disney Company, Disney Stars at CTO, CIO at LTIMindtree, Deputy CIO at Wipro, and executive leadership roles at Thomson Reuters, Kraft Foods, and the practitioner at Capgemini, Accenture, and Deloitte. Please put your hands together, everyone, for Mr. Kamal Shah.
Welcome. Is it audible? Looks like, right? Very nice. A very warm welcome to all of you. It's been a real nice day. I can't thank you enough for being here and taking the time out from your busy schedule as well. She mentioned that. But I really, really feel privileged and very much pleased to be here with you all. It's been a fantastic year, hasn't it? I mean, I can't imagine our lives being turned upside down in the last 2 years as much as it has been, if you will, for many, many years prior to that. Things have just evolved at a real fast pace. In fact, just seeing in this room right now, it seems like the COVID is still on because there's only a few people sitting together. I think we need to come out of it. But anyways, the key part here, right? So a lot of good stuff has happened. I think our world has changed. I wanted to kind of take the brief moment and talk a little bit about, how my role has been evolving, my personal life, if you will, in some regards, as a CDIO and CIO itself. I would love to talk about, what I have been observing, if you will, in the IT space from a data center perspective. I would like to draw some parallel worlds as well around that. And then we'll dwell right into the areas of what's going on that I have been part of, if you will, leveraging technology, leveraging compute and storage and data center aspects, if you will, from an enterprise perspective. And then we'll talk about the elephant in the room, which is, should we be on cloud, on-prem, co-locate, and especially for folks who are practitioners here and not just partners or vendors, I think that's a question that is certainly on everyone's mind. So we'll dwell into a little bit of that. And then finally, I think we'll just talk about, I guess, Gen AI, because without that, no conversation is complete. So that's the roadmap, if you will, for the next 15 minutes or so. So I'll try to go on a monologue as fast as I possibly can. If you guys have questions, save them, because there are more smarter people coming right after me, and they can answer all the stuff once. Okay? So that's where it is, but I will hang around after the speech, and then we can connect and network as well. So the role of a CIO, if you will, if you ask me, in today's day and age, is very different than what I guess it started around 20 years back. And I'm drawing that timeline because it kind of represents my experience itself. Back in the days, it all started with infrastructure, of course. It started by bringing in the crown jewels of the organizations out of the enterprise, bringing them into a central location, and trying to do the best you can in making sure that you have the right size, you have the right compute, and hopefully storage, which was more like gold, had to be preserved the best it possibly can. And so there was a big shift, if you will, of going towards central computing, central storage, and I think that's where everyone was dated. But that came with a sea of change, if you will. And with the way that things have evolved, if you will, around how application layers, the software layers, as well as our user behaviors have evolved, the need for data centers have also changed. And that's no different in my experience, if you will. And that's where we started drifting away, if you will, from moving from a centralized compute to what we believe much of us have been experiencing, which is the cloud part, right? I think in my parallel world, as an example, data centers can be easily be compared with banks and the experiences that we have with our money, right? I mean, if data is really money, and that's the currency to which we all are going to associate ourselves with, then I would think that that's the best example. I mean, back in the days, many, many years ago, right, our forefathers used to dig a hole in the backyard and put gold and money and everything which was of high value out there, assuming that it was secured. And I can't imagine that people didn't do that with data as well, by bringing it all together in a more secured location where you can preserve it, hopefully save it for a long time, and make good sense out of it. But thereafter, the banks evolved, and everyone started wondering whether is it better to put money in the banks, which is more secured, easily accessible, easy to transact, and so forth. And I think that's what has happened as well for us. But with the evolving trend of all the new edge technologies and tools that we have in the financial market with Bitcoins and so forth, the power has moved away from backyard to the banks to the endpoint devices. And I can't imagine data being any different for us anymore, right? It's all about edge. And so that's another aspect that I think is really touching everyone's life today. And so with that as a backdrop, I would essentially say that the world of a CIO is evolved much, much more than what it was before. Gone are the days where one could look at it and say, okay, we've got to plan for the future. And then if you don't plan, you are essentially planning for the failure. But those days are much over, because now it's not just about planning, it's also about envisioning as to how to leverage technology, enable the business, and think in context to how best you can make every dollar or every rupee spent stretch much beyond the value it's ought to create. And that's what I've been really wrestling with as well. When we talk about data centers, guys, broadly, especially in a city like Bombay, which is the #1 city in India which hosts maximum number of data centers, I personally feel that it has been an amazing place for everyone who is in technology at this point in time. I mean, many, prior to the COVID, I wouldn't say many years ago, but prior to COVID, I think much of what we were observing, if you will, was on the digital side. And the transformation was something that was picking up. But no one really talked about data center as much as people talk about data center at this point in time. And I can't imagine that the folks who are in this room here today and who are associated in this industry are essentially going to grow much faster than what we would, okay? the amount of inflection points that we are seeing across different industries, in BFSI, in manufacturing, in automobile, with the EV segments, as well as in telecoms and media and so forth, there is no better place than to be associated with technology and enable the business and enable the customers itself. And so that's something that I've observed as well. When we talk about the elements of security, which I think many of you all really are going to be wrestling with, and I hope that you don't lose your sleep, but the security aspect of this is extremely important. And I'm pretty sure you guys are already aware of it, that if there is uncertainty that every single person who holds a position in running a data center is really focusing on, I think one of that element has to be around security itself. And the advent of Gen AI, which I have personally been associated with and trying to leverage the best I can, I think we have found a huge benefit around identifying anomalies that can be looked into much earlier than later before it turns into a problem, and use the power of Gen AI, if you will, in that context. The aspect that I wanted to really touch upon, guys, today, and hopefully you will be able to hear from the partners and rest of the panel members who are going to be here, and they will talk more about it, is going to be around what is it that they are experiencing, if you will, in their own domains, in their own service lines, especially with intelligence. Every one of us here have essentially moved away from a terminology called CPUs to GPU, I would think, right? And GPU is like, if CPU and processing and storage was like gold, GPU is more like diamonds, right? I mean, I can't imagine anyone saying, I've got extra GPU, because if they do, they've got something that the rest of the world is really looking forward to. But right now where we stand, I think the demand is only at 5 to 10% max, which is being met. 90% of the demand today in this market segment is unattended or unknown. And I think those numbers are not going to be in percentile anymore. I think they are going to be in absolute values. There is going to be a tremendous requirement that's going to come through. And it kind of puts a back pressure on practitioners like us to start thinking about not just planning about near and now, but also envisioning what is it that we will possibly are supposed to do to enable the business and our customers much beyond the runway of 2 to 3 to 5 years. And the capital expenditures that are up against right now, which has kind of pivoted away from the CapEx to OpEx and now coming back to the CapEx with the hybrid and colo, I think it is extremely important for each one of us to really start thinking about how to make every dollar stretch, right? So I think, nevertheless, if you have been able to make good friends with your CFO, I think you are going to really have the right set of money to spend. If you don't, then I think we really can, well, I guess, learn from each other to see how best you can really forge that relationship. But never, that's what it is. I would love to talk about a little bit around sustainability, because that's another topic that I think a lot of people might be associated with. I am going to be a little bit loss of words when I say sustainability is considered not only in context just to how enterprises are affecting our socio-economic environment, or for that matter, anything that the user is really experiencing around how their lives are getting better, but in general, if you're looking at green world space, if you're looking at renewable energies, if you're looking at how your cooling can be much affected in a better way, I think there are some amazing partners who are outside as well as in this room who can really talk about how best sustainability can be achieved. In my experience at Tata Technologies, this is an area which is really near to heart, and it also is ethos of our organization. And one of the things that we have been trying to do is to leverage the power of intelligence to really identify what are the best ways of defining which workloads goes ways. And that's also a great segue, if you will, around how our role is changing and evolving. If you are in the line of business, likes of healthcare, medicals, telecommunications, or for that matter, even vehicle and automobile industry, our jobs as practitioners have kind of moved much beyond just being someone who is responsible for storage and compute and power to now also understanding what data we are hosting. One has to really make sure that the elements of data and workloads that we are going to be responsible for as data center practitioners essentially reflects as to how data will be, coming as ingress or degress. And it is really important for the very simple reason. And that reason is that no two data elements are going to be very similar in nature. If you are in the medical line, and if you have a sprinkler system which is automated and the data comes in, at the same token, if there is a medical emergency which is more surgical in nature, you will really need to prioritize which data goes at what point in time for your processing. Extremely important, very important, if you will, if you're in the telecommunications line of business as well. And so the element of data, knowing what workloads are being hosted within your data center, what needs to get prioritized, what does not need to get prioritized, are going to be very, very important and critical. So I think that's something that I have been able to observe and work around with as well. We have a lot of data ingestions that we work with our partners, which comes from our EV vehicles, from our automobiles, and then we use our power of data centers, if you will, in really identifying what gets prioritized. The security part also is layered on top of that. So that's one of our observations as well, where data which was something which was considered as just storage is now being more reclassified and defined in a much better way. All right, so enough about what I have been doing and what I guess the wide industry segment is all about. I think there are a lot of smart people in this room who have been working in this space for many, many, many years. And so I can't really take the time out to just preach to the choir. So I'm going to essentially look back in a different tangent now. And I'm going to ask this audience, this wonderful audience that we have here today, and kind of see if we can increase the energy level a little bit. If you were to have a choice of putting data in your data center, or if you were to have a choice of putting it in a cloud or hybrid, or co-locate with one of the partners, especially the ones that are here, what do you think would come to your mind? How would what is the first thing that will come to your mind if you have to be asked to make a choice? And by the way, those who give a wonderful answer might end up earning like 10 GPUs from one of our partners here. Maybe. So, anyone wants to take a shot? Go ahead. Type of data, got it. I think that's a wonderful thing to consider, and it's a good segue to what I was just referring. Understanding the type of data is going to be extremely important for making that decision. And I agree with you. I think type of data is absolutely important. Anything else that's on your mind, guys? Depends on the use case, the need. What is it that you really want to operate at? I think that's also very relevant. If you are working in a segment where your data requirement is not going to go through a set of inflections, it's not very volatile, it's very static, maybe that's how you want to really look at it from a use case to use case perspective. And I think that's absolutely important. I saw another hand there. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't get that. Regulatory requirements. Oh, they are always there, aren't they? I mean, there is no escaping them. There's always those regulatory requirements. And there is always something that kind of keeps us awake. That's a good question. I'll be honest with you. I heard a little bit of prioritization, and that's what I caught. And I can relate the fill in the blanks on that, but got it. The ecosystem, right? You are referring more to the ecosystem. If your architecture is distributed, then you have more choices. If it is not, then you want to co-locate at the same location so that you can reduce the latency and so forth. I think so much a valid answer there. Got it. Ease of data migration and security. I think that's another valid reason why, one of the other valid reasons to consider, if you will, in making the decision. Wow, so many great answers, so many great answers. I don't know what am I going to do. Oh, okay, don't worry, we are not going to give them all the GPUs right now. Just a little bit. All right, beautiful. I can't thank you enough, guys, for participating and engaging in that discussion. It is really exciting. But you know what? I think the elements of what you just shared is something that we all wrestle with every day. And those are near and now and real questions in our day-to-day jobs, right? These are the type of questions that I believe we are going to be wrestle with. The thing I wanted to kind of bring in front of you as a way to kind of just call you into this discussion was primarily to say, while you make these decisions, while you make interactions with your business, with CFOs or the business heads and the leaders who are at the thrust of what needs to be driven from an organization perspective to make it more profitable, the key element, I guess, is going to be around having those conversations in a more varied way. It's not just about one use case, one regulatory requirement, one ecosystem to which you want to manifest, and of course, making the most of the investments that you're going to do. I think it's a collective source of many. And one thing that I have been able to benefit the most from is, partnering and networking with the fraternity and the community, understanding how best to use it, engaging with partners, and making sure that they bring the art of possibility in front of those key leaders who are going to make the decision. And if you can collectively bring that together, I think our chances of really investing on a short-term, mid-term, or long-term are much more and much better. And I think that, to me, is extremely important. So that's that. I'm just looking around and trying to figure out, what could be the best next pitch for you guys, given that, you all are somehow associated with the world of technology. So let me kind of put out there as a second line of question. And hopefully this will really get you excited, because I think this one might be a real one that we need to give as an incentive. And she's already laughing at me. She's like, are you going out of your speech and going tangent? But yeah, maybe I am. All right, so anyone who is interested in investing in data center over a period of next 1 to 6 months? Anyone who is in the buy cycle? Anyone? I know this is an award ceremony. That means much of investments have already been made. That's okay. We are also looking at the 19th edition, by the way, guys, so we can start taking nominations up front right now. But if you are, right, it's not a provocative question, but if you are looking for making investments, the thing that I would implore you to do is start thinking about, what is it that you would need, not only for near and now, for keeping the lights on, but in context to, what is it that you would be doing over a period of next 18 to 24 months, at least, if not more. The hybrid cloud is something that I guess we have all gravitated to, because much of the compute that we see here in our core data center moved to cloud, then kind of looked upon and say, okay, well, it is too much. The pendulum swung too far out. It became more hybrid in nature so that we can make economies of scale much better. And then with the endpoint devices that, as a wider ecosystem we use, have become more smarter and intelligent, it is really reeling it back in. And I think the edge is here for us to stay. I think it's going to be extremely important. And if there are things that are questions, then I really would welcome you to come forward, talk to this community, talk to the partners that we have here today. I think it's going to be an exciting day filled with a lot of smart people coming up here as part of the plenary questions as well as panels. And of course, there are a lot of partners who have a lot of great offerings. So I wish you guys a wonderful day today. And once again, it's a pleasure being here. And giddy up for next session. Go for it.
Thank you, sir. May I request you to stay back for a minute? I will request Mr. Prashant Pereira to come forward and present a small token of appreciation. Thank you so much for the wonderful session, sir. Let's have a big round of applause for him.